Hi, I'm David Anglero. I am co-founder and CEO of greenedgetech. We're a company that is focused solely on equitable access and distribution of green technologies. Currently, our main focus is electric vehicle curbside charging in residential areas. We're highly focused on under-resourced areas and ultimately, where are the best places to put electric vehicle charging when you don't have access to electric vehicle charging? Are you a renter? Are you relegated to on-street parking? And are you a municipality that is completely understaffed and overworked? We are a company that is there to try to put all the pieces together and help you through that transition and through that investment in your community. So we've been doing this about 2 years now, and a lot of that has been focused on how do we actually find the ideal locations. I'd say that's about 60% of what we do. 40% is about outreach, and the remaining like 2 a.m. is marketing. So here we are. So I'm going to jump into this. When we first started this project, we were told that we needed to do a survey. So we did a survey that is something that I have yet to see happen in many municipalities or cities out there. And the smaller municipalities understood, they're overworked. This is not an ultimate priority. This is not the biggest fire that they have. Yet in the meantime, the technology will continue, and it will continue at an exponential rate, and that's why we have extension cords over sidewalks and through the trees and DIY installations for 220 um, electrical ports, and all this is running out to the curb because people are relegated to on-street parking in a lot of neighborhoods. So when we start talking to communities, when we're looking for communities to talk to, we're typically looking at under-resourced areas, and we're looking for what we kind of call like a virtual parking lot, which is where the cars are pretty much relegated to on-street parking. And if you look at their parking structures if you look at the streets through the days, they're filled with cars, and at night, filled with cars. So it begs the question: why are we putting these EV chargers into municipal parking lots? So, and I'll add that not all municipal parking lots are bad. We have a couple right now that we're looking at that are placed very well, very conveniently for their community, and have terrific numbers in our mindset. Um, and I'll go with that because we're about the only ones that are doing this right now. So, what we kind of set up ourselves to do is be kind of like a project manager. We don't sell the chargers. We help the community pick the charger. We do the research. We look at the funding. We go after the funding. We do all of the paperwork. We do the reporting for the funding after the fact. We do the daily maintenance and servicing. We make sure that there is a selected service crew before the chargers even go in the ground. And we look for the most ideal type of infrastructure as far as electrical equipment to not impede daily life. We work with the utility company to make that the most ideal type of setup. We also look for systems and for the infrastructure to be as least obstructive to daily life as possible. That also includes finding places to put these so that we're not impeding daily life, which means we're not trying to set this up right in front of somebody's house. We're trying to set this up in an area that has a lot of parking, but wouldn't necessarily be taking away from any parking spots. So I'll jump into some of the stuff here and why we do this. And a lot of this stems out of some of our initial surveys that we did with the city of Pittsburgh, and we did it with the residents in the city of Pittsburgh, and then we backed up a lot of the data that we're doing two semesters of capstone work with students at Carnegie Mellon University out of the Heinz School of Information Systems and Public Policy. And all of that is done to help verify what we're doing by hand, and also to help then automate and speed up what we're doing by hand so that we can go from municipality to municipality. And the majority of the stuff that we're doing there is not crunching numbers. It's talking to the community groups. It's talking to the people. It's knocking on doors. It's trying to find the extension cords. It's the type of work that is currently not being done. And that's, to us, some of the most critical component of what you need to do when you're installing an installation that could be 70 and upwards of $100,000, depending on the infrastructure that's already existing and what you're going to need to help that community. So here's a little bit of a snapshot of one of our initial surveys here, where we tried to actually find out how far would people walk to get their car charged. It's 2 walks. It's a walk from your car after you've dropped it off, and it's a walk back to your car after it's charged. So if you look at almost any of the RFPs for municipalities that are out there, if you look at any of the EV strategic plans, I think I've seen one that's at 5 to 10 minutes of a walk, but all of them are primarily a 10-minute walk, which is interesting because no one's actually done that survey to find out if anybody would actually walk 10 minutes. So we did it. And we found that 51% of people would walk 5 minutes, 23% of people would walk 10 minutes, and 37% of people wouldn't walk at all. So going after a guideline of 10 minutes doesn't make any sense when you're dumping tens of thousands of dollars, especially when the end goal and the end result of what you're doing is nowhere near a 10-minute walk for the majority of people. And that's why we have people working in their cars and eating in their cars to charge their cars, and going into parking lots to pay to, then they pay to park to pay to charge. So our whole goal is to structure the data and structure the conversations with the community about where we can be the most impactful in a 5-minute walk. And what we try to do is take this mentality of like, oh, we're going to pack like a parking lot with 6 ports, 8 ports, 10 ports, and I guess hope for the best, because nobody's really doing any location surveying on these sites. So why are we putting them all in one place that has no research? Why do we not just take those chargers and split them up over the neighborhood? If you take one charger that everybody can get, one installation that everybody can get 10 to within 10 minutes, but you take all of those chargers and spread them out, you put them 10 minutes apart from each other, it's some pretty easy math that now these people are 5 minutes apart from any charger. So we split up these chargers. We try to get to the entire neighborhood. Most of the municipalities that we look at can be covered in about 3 to 5 charging installations. We try to start small with a couple ports, and then as the technology proliferates, as more people invest in a vehicle, as that grows, as the demand grows, then we can grow the ports because we've dug once, and then the future installations that come off of that can be expanded out. Primarily, we look at curbside charging. This is, to us, this is the center of where where all of this happens, because this is where the extension cords are. This is where everybody is parking that doesn't have a driveway. So or that rents. You might be able to do like a level 1 charger at your house if you're renting the house, you're renting the home. But for the most part, if you're in a community that you're parking on the street, this is where we need to be. If you have a municipal parking lot that is strategic, that is actually placed very well to get the most impact out of those chargers, then fantastic. We will work with that. Every case is a little different, but primarily, a lot of the times, we're going to go after what the data is saying and what the community is saying. What are the people saying? What do they need? And then work around that. And if it's not curbside like this, then so be it. But this is where we see a lot of the problem. We see it addressed and identified in RFP after RFP. yet no real action towards location scouting. So we try to work on the um, on the curb with as minimal intrusion to daily life. You'll see that we try to go through a selection process of the chargers so that they have more visibility for pedestrians, people walking and driving. We don't want to have these big obstructions around the homes. We also don't want to, we want the thing to be, we want well lit, but we don't need a lot of logos everywhere. We don't need EV charging companies to spread their logo all over the community. We want access and distribution as equitably as possible. So this is where I'm going to try to wrap everything up. This is a municipality that is very well intentioned, is trying to do right by the community, and they are looking at a municipal parking lot. Unfortunately, their guidance is coming from either nobody or a company that is not doing the research, or an EV manufacturing that, the EV manufacturers that are out, or the EV charger manufacturers that are out there, are primarily focused on selling as many chargers as possible. And that's why they talk about redundancy. That, and because they don't actually have a network of service and support set up ready to go. And that's why we're also seeing RFPs from municipalities looking for companies that supply testing equipment for the chargers, because they're not always functioning. And we have uptime requirements. Funders have uptime requirements of 95% and higher, which is not happening out in the market. So if they actually had service and support ready to go on a regular basis, it wouldn't be so much of an issue. But if we sell you more chargers, then we don't have to fix it so quickly. Well, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for high usability. We want people to be able to use these chargers. We want to look at reservation systems. We want to look at how we can really work and impact a community, and help that community strive. So this community here has 14,500 people in it, covering an area of 2.25 square miles. Um, that that's a pretty densely populated area. However, they're looking at a municipal parking lot because it tends to be a path of least resistance. This here are stats from that municipal parking lot that I'm sure nobody has taken the time to get to do, because, well, the municipality is overworked, which makes a lot of sense. But the companies that are guiding this process, it's really tough to swallow and see that, this is an area, when you start to look at terrain, which is something that we do, because especially in Pittsburgh, you've got rain, you've got sleet, snow, it's cold. I mean, like, what, you can't expect people to be walking up and down like giant hills, So this actual site here, with a 5-minute walkability radius, covers about 0.11 square miles. And what really starts to get tough here is the population density at this site allows for access to 435 people, 3% of the population, and they've got a really good percentage of people of color here at 75%, at 326 people. When you start to look and you start to talk to the community and you see what else is around there and where else you can go and impact the community, suddenly we have a site over here that we are looking at and trying to talk to them about, is an area that can affect 0.18 square miles. Well, the difference in that is staggering. We've got, all of a sudden now we can impact almost 2,400 people in a 5-minute walking radius. That's 16.5% of the population. And then you start to look at, like, people of color, any, like, non-white population in general. Now we're jumping up 3 times the amount, over like 656 more people. So the percentages almost don't even matter so much when you look at the quantity and the amount of people we can actually impact. That's staggering. We go to the number of households in that impact zone, and we go from 305 to 1,477 homes. We go from an owner occupied. That's a good number to look at just to see, where the homeowners are. Not every homeowner has a driveway, which is very important to realize. But once we start to look at like someone that might be a renter, then it's like you just have no choice. And we go from either way, we go from 40 of owner occupied to 251. You go from 265 potential renters up to 1,226 households. When you start to look at low income population, we go from 244 to 810. This is why we do what we do. This is why when we start to see that a community is about to jump and is about to drop tens of thousands of dollars that are set aside and devoted to these types of infrastructures, why are we not actually looking at the most ideal locations to impact the community as much as possible? So with that said, I hope I didn't take too much time here, but that's what we do. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can reach out to me directly, David Anglero at greenedgetech.org, or info@greenedgetech.org. But have a great one.